another episode of Detective Ridiculous, the final chapter, the last end, the finality, the end game, whatever.
It is the last episode.
You will never hear from us again. We are taking our drug money and we are going to Mexico. Let's go.
Well, hey, whoa! I never talked about that. I wasn't going to Mexico with drug. I was just gonna buy more anime figures and be happy.
We're taking our drug money and we're going to Japan.
Hell yeah! Let's go.
There you go. And if you enjoyed this podcast, head on over to patreon.com/Adeptus Ridiculous to get yourself all of the great things that come along with the podcast and the Patreon, such as Discord access, bloopers if they happen, posters, all kinds of fantastic ones, all up and down digital HD format. And also do not forget to check out the merchandise at orchidate.com. Link in the description. All kinds of good stuff. Love to have it.
Love that merch.
So, DK, you said that there were two last, episodes, the usual kind of stuff.
Two last episodes. That's a bit of oxymoron, isn't it?
Last two episodes, whatever.
There you go. Last two episodes. Sure. Yep. This is the final one for a while. We're not, we might pull it out for like April Fools or something, but this is basically the last episode, yes.
Sure. Now, you said the last two were pretty chunky ones. Now, clearly, the Malaysia flight was a big one. But what we doing? What's this one? This is the final one. What are we thinking?
What are we doing? So, because this is the last episode, and we kind of want to go out with a bang, I have decided that I am finally going to hit you with a quote and see if you can pick it up, because this is a topic that you actually know.
Okay.
So, the quote goes like this. I was willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things.
Is it the KILLDOZER?
Bricky, this is the KILLDOZER.
Oh my God. Yes. See, DK, it's not that hard.
Hey, I've gotten like 18 quotes right, all right? Somebody tally them up. I've gotten 18 right. Don't you sit there and be like, oh, you never get them. Is it a rarity? Sure, but I've gotten a few right in my day. Okay, don't you sass me. I remember that sarcasm thing that you keep hitting me with? That thinly veiled sarcasm that's going to be the downfall of the pot. Bricky.
I am 1 for 1, my guy. Hell yeah.
But
anyway,
yes, today we're talking about the KILLDOZER.
The KILLDOZER.
The KILLDOZER. So our story starts off with a man named Marvin Heemeyer, who was born on October 28th, 1951 in South Dakota. Now, up until this point, there's not really a whole lot to tell about Marv's story. I assume he had a pretty bog-standard upbringing, nothing to really note, other than he joined the Air Force and he would eventually be stationed at the Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado in 1974. There's not a whole lot on like what he specialized while he was in the Air Force, but it's assumed that while he was in the Air Force, he got really good at becoming a welder, because Marv is like a damn near expert welder. So, while in Boulder, Colorado, Marv would start a muffler repair business. And this muffler repair business would end up thriving for him. He's pulling in some primo cash from his muffler repair business. And from what some of Marv's friends have said, he was so good at welding and repairing mufflers, he could swap out a muffler 20 minutes. Done. Marv was also a massive snowmobile enthusiast. Like, he just loved going out in the snow and just riding and enjoying nature. So, with business going as well as it was, he figures, you know what? It's time for me to kind of step away from my muffler business for maybe like the winter or something. You know, I'll lease the business out to one of my friends. They can run it for me, and I can just kind of like pseudo retire out to Grand Lake, Colorado in 1989. And Grand Lake, Colorado, kind of like this small little mountain spot, perfect spot for a snowmobile enthusiast. He even falls in with a local snowmobile riding group called the Thursday Club, which, as the name suggests, they get together every Thursday and they just ride. But
that's very like, I don't know what it is about that. It's just so quaint.
Oh,
this is not like a bad looking dude either. Like that dude he's a rugged chop man, you know, got that white beard, the whole thing going.
Oh yeah, Marv is just a normal dude. He's just a normal, hardworking, blue collar American. You know,
man, that picture of him. That if I had to like. You know when you put like an AI generator and it's just like, well, we don't, but it's like an AI makes what the average blue collar worker would look like. It would look like this man right here.
Absolutely. He is basically a typical blue collar American. He's hardworking. He's an honest man.
He's even got the denim overalls. What a Chad.
Yeah, he does.
What a baller.
He has the very stereotypical denim overalls. Yeah. But while Marv is up in Grand Lake, Colorado, just sort of enjoying life and snowmobiling, he's got a friend that's like, hey, your life is great. And, you know, I want a life like yours. Do you think you could help me, like, start up a muffler business so I can live like you do? Like, do you think you can help me find, like, a property where I can start my own muffler business? And at this point, everybody's just like, oh, Marv is just like the nicest guy on the planet. Would literally give you the shirt off his back. If he saw you in trouble, boom, he's in there trying to help. So Marv is like, oh, hell yeah, I can help you. Like, I know exactly what you would need from a property. I know exactly what to look for a successful muffler shop because I did it. So you know what? Let me take a look around. Let me see what I can find. I will help you in this endeavor. And so Marv gets to work looking around for a property in sort of the Grand Lake area that would be suitable for a muffler shop. And he ends up finding a perfect spot in this place called Granby, which is like 16 or so miles away from Grand Lake. The property is like 2-ish acres, and the reason Marv liked it so much is it had like this big warehouse on it, and it had like these 3 big bay doors that just opened up into the warehouse. So for a muffler shop, it's like these bay doors open, huge warehouse, cars drive in, you can work on all your stuff in there. Oh, this is perfect. So Marv's like, hey, I found you this amazing spot. Let's talk details. How are we going to get this spot? Because the city was going to auction the land off because the previous owner went bankrupt. And Marv also tries to find out, like, at this auction, like, you know, is the previous owner who went bankrupt going to be there? Are they going to, like, start some stuff? Or am I going to be trying to bid against them? Because, like, you know, that could make an awkward situation. And all the realtors were just like, oh, maybe, probably not. But even with that, Marv and his friend decide we're going to spend in the ballpark of like $66,000 on this property at auction. Because the city was like, oh, hey, we'll sell it to you, but we'll sell it to you for like $100,000. And Marv was like, yeah, no, we're going to auction.
Remind me the state this was again?
Colorado.
Right, it's Colorado.
Yep.
You remember what I said earlier about like, make me the most casual blue collar worker. AI, make me the most obvious Colorado town. Like that image that Shai posted there. It's actually extremely quaint and quite beautiful.
Oh yeah,
I've visited Colorado a couple of times. It's a gorgeous state, but like the towns, a lot of the towns look like this, and it's so like the American the American, is it the Rockies? I forget.
Yeah, sure.
Wherever it's over there, it's like what a beautiful place. It makes me feel like it lights my soul up.
Yeah, and that quaint is the perfect way to describe Granby, because I think it has maybe a little over 1,000 people live there. So it is your small mountain town. I don't want to say in the middle of nowhere, but kind of in the middle of nowhere. So it's like quaint. But what Marv did not know is that the previous owner, his name is Cody Dosheff, was going to be there. And not only was Cody going to be there, he had basically told everybody in Granby that he wanted that spot that Marv was looking at, and he was going to bid on that spot. And like I just said, Granby, relatively small town, maybe a little over 1,000 people or something there. So literally everyone there, except Marv, knows that Cody, he wants this spot. He wants to build up a concrete batch plant there. But Marv couldn't know this because Cody never talked to any of the realtors. He just talked to everybody in town. It was like, hey guys, that's my spot. I'm going to build the batch plant there and everything's going to be great. We're a small town, so hey, everybody just don't bid on it.
So he was very much just like, yeah, it's mine already, no worries.
Yeah, it's sort of small town politics, right? Like, oh, hey, everybody here understands. Nobody writes anything up. Nobody talks to any actual officials, and yeah.
All right, here we go again. AI generator, make me the HOA council photo.
Yeah, every photo Shai puts up, it almost seems like it is just the most stereotypical version of like the HOA, quaint Colorado town.
Mr. Bricky, your tree has extended 0.4 inches over the driveway. We will fine you $500.
Oh, she'd be lucky to get away for only $500 if the HOA saw something like that.
God, I hate the HOA so. Anyway, continue.
So bad. So, this 2 acres of land comes up for auction, and Marv is the first one, and he bids $40,000 on it. And from everything I've seen, the room just kind of goes silent, and the auctioneer is just like, and kind of looks around the room, and Marv is just like, hey, 40,000. And it takes the auctioneer a little while to be like, okay, 40,000? And then Cody bids 45,000. Marv counters with 50,000, and then Cody doesn't have enough money, so Marv wins the property from him. So, So Marv is on cloud 9 because he's like, bro, this thing was going to get sold for $100,000. I had a limit of like $66K. I just picked this thing up for $50,000. Yo, that's aces.
Yeah, they really tried to screw him with that $100K one.
Oh yeah, well that's a typical government city trying to upsell property, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And what happened next is up for debate because there are two sides to the story. According to Marv, after the auction was over, Cody came up to him and was just pissed. And he introduced himself by giving Marv a tongue lashing for 10 minutes. Sort of like a, how dare you? Everyone knew I was buying that plot of land. That was mine. Who the hell do you think you are? What is your problem? This is our town type of thing. Since Marv is obviously the outsider in this tiny little town.
Damn, we don't even have racism going on. We have like zoningism.
Basically, yeah, like
dude, these bitches gerrymandered racism. What's happening?
But yeah, since he was an outsider of the town, he was kind of, Marv or Cody was just like, ooh, how dare you infiltrate our town and take my land? And
oh, goddamn, all right.
And Marv tries to be civil about this whole thing, and he tries to work it out because he's like, look, buddy, nobody told me how bad you want it, all right? Realistically, it's your fault because you didn't bring enough damn money, but look, I'll still try to be reasonable with you. I came here with like $66K to buy it from my friend's muffler shop. That's all I'm trying to do. So look, if you straight up match the $66K, hey, I'll give you the land, I'll find somewhere else to do my buddy's muffler shop, and we can all be happy, happy friends, and I can get out of your hair.
Yeah, pocket like, what was it 50 he paid for us? Like pocket like 16K or something?
Yeah, because he's got to make a profit too.
Yeah, and like 16K, especially in a small town in 2004 it's really good. So yeah.
Well, at the time, this is probably like 92-ish.
Oh, well, even better. Right,
yeah.
Sorry, doesn't the event take place in 04?
Yeah, the event happens in like 04, yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, hey, that Marv seems like a class act.
He is! Marv, at this point, Marv is described as just the biggest class act you could ever find. He is a reasonable man. Oh, that quote, right? And he will do whatever he can to help you, play by the rules. He is a fair and honest man. But again, Cody didn't bring enough money. And so he was being funded by a man named Gus Harris, who was like a former mayor of Granby. And Gus Harris was only willing to spend $50,000. And so they didn't have enough money, they don't agree with Marv, and they just storm off. And according to Cody, there's this kind of iffy documentary called Tread that I wouldn't look to for being the most accurate source of what happened. But in that documentary, Cody is like, well, I don't remember even talking to Marv. I sat there with Gus for a couple minutes, and then I don't even think I met him there. I don't even think I talked to him afterwards.
So they literally just like didn't even. Sorry. Let me rephrase this. He decided to just say that nothing happened, which I'm assuming was there's a lot of eyewitness accounts that say otherwise.
Problem is there are eyewitnesses that were there, but they're all people from Granby, and they're all people that know Cody real well, and they're all people that respect Cody. So the thought is, even if Cody did give Marv that tongue lashing, this is sort of like they're
on his side.
Yeah, like sort of that good old boys club where like they'll side with him even if they know he's wrong. So it's kind of up for debate. Who knows? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but it's kind of hard to take the eyewitnesses at face value, right?
I mean, the man just lost an auction. Like, maybe he should have had more money for the auction.
And honestly, that's the point a lot of people bring up. It's like, brother, you can be mad all you want, but like, it's your fault. You and Gus didn't bring enough money. Like, you thought you had the town in hand agreeing with you, but I think they even mentioned like all of the properties that were being auctioned that day, everybody brought enough money to buy their property except Cody. He's the only one that didn't bring enough money, and it burned him. So maybe bring enough money next time, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, you lose an auction when someone outbids you. This is just life. I don't know what they expected.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he genuinely expected that he told everybody in town and nobody would bid on it, and he'd get it for literally less than $50,000. But you played yourself, buddy.
All right.
But the property belongs to Marv now. And he contacts his friend. And he's like, hey, dude, got the perfect spot for you. I got it cheap. But there are a couple problems. So he tells his friend about the little tiff he had with Cody. And he also tells him that apparently this property at some point had like an oil spill, or there was some chemical problem that happened on the property, and it required like the EPA required it to be cleaned up, and they estimated it would cost $20,000. And at this point, Marv's friend is like, you know what, that's too steep. I'm pulling out. I don't want to do the muffler shop anymore. I'm already in the hole too much. I can't put in another $20K, and so I'm just out.
Wait, did you say oil spill or like gas spill?
It was like an oil spill, I think.
Because where I used to live over in Irvine, there was like an old military base across the way. It almost kind of looked like that, Shy. It was very decrepit, and like a lot of the buildings were still there, demilitarized, broken glass and stuff. But I think back in the day, maybe some of our active or retired service fans could say this. They would like pour gasoline, just kind of like they would just dump out gasoline, and like they dump out gas. But by dump out gas, I literally mean just like dump it in the weeds. And right. just get rid of it. So the entire area is like, well, you can't build houses on here right now because
of all the gasoline, right?
Gas and oil and stuff is just seeping into the ground. So,
but yeah, there was like some kind of oil spill. I don't know if it was something like that, but like I said, it's cost $20,000. Marv's friend is like, nope, that's too hot. I'm out. And again, because Marv was so like chill and understanding with his friend, they never actually drew up a contract. And so his friend was basically under like no legal obligation to be like, well, I have to take the property. So Marv now is kind of just stuck with this property. He just kind of has to figure out something to do with it. So Marv isn't really sure what he wants to do with this property yet, and he kind of lets it go unused for a little while, because he's just like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't really need it. Until in April of 1992, he's like, you know what? The muffler shop I'm leasing in Boulder is still doing really well. It's pulling in a good amount of cash, so you know what? Why don't I just open another muffler shop in Granby? Like, I know all the fixings. I'm an expert welder. I can handle all the maintenance. What the hell? It'll be a great use of the land, and I can start saving up for retirement because I'm getting a little old. I think at this point he's in his late 40s, I think. He also planned to build this big, like, boat storage on the property so that he could lease it out to boat owners, and he's got even more added income because if ever a time comes they're like, oh, my hands, I can't work in the muffler shop, anybody can just lease out storage space for boats, so it'll be a great little retirement nest egg. And while that's all well and good, there is another problem. Because the property wasn't actually hooked up to the city's water and sewage system.
And it had the spill, so you'd have to dig to fix and then set it up. Yep. Oh, no.
Although he did get it all fixed up. He paid the EPA, he got it all cleaned up, all that is fine now. But not on the city's water and sewage system. Instead, it was running off of this really weird, like, I guess they had a well that they could draw water from, and the property had this really weird... So for a septic tank, they were using an old buried cement mixer, which I didn't know you could do, and I didn't think was legal?
I mean... It may not be legal, but they're going to still do it, I suppose.
Yeah, but apparently, according to Marv, it was all very legal, wasn't hurting anyone, and he was fine using a buried cement mixer as his septic tank.
Well, according to Marv, like, just like, I'm not trying to be like, damn, Marv really was a hero of our generation with his KILLDOZER. Like I'm going to make some assumptions that maybe some of it is like, yeah, it's the code. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, sure.
It's a small town, whatever.
Who cares? And from what I understand, the city is like, hey, dude, look, you need to be annexed into the city sewer line. And there seemed to be an understanding with him and I think one of the city workers, I forget what their name is, that it was like, oh, it's going to be no problem. You just fill out some paperwork. We'll handle everything else. It'll be no problem. And you'll get, boom, hooked into the sewer line. No problem. And as it turns out, when Marv goes to City Hall to, put in his request to be annexed and everything, they basically told him that because of where his property was, it wasn't easy to just sort of hook into the sewer line. What he'd have to do is he'd have to dig, or the city would have to dig parallel to the sewer line and then go behind his property and hook into the sewer line from behind his property. Otherwise, all the pipes would go through too much shit. And to do that, the city wanted to charge him in the ballpark of $82,000.
What does the city? Because it's a small city. Do they have it just out for him? Because he's not from the city, as we've seen prior?
Well, I mean, Marv
holy hell,
tends to think that after a little while. But yeah, that's double. That's double, almost double what he paid for the property. So right. Marv is just like, hey, yo, bullshit. And then he storms out because he's like, whatever, dude, I don't need to hook on to the city's water, and I don't need that. What I'm doing with my septic tank is perfectly normal. I have a well on the property. You guys can cram it. The only problem is he had put in the paperwork to be annexed into the city's system, and he never withdrew that. So he is actually kind of in the city's, I don't know if I want to say jurisdiction, but this will come back to bite him a little bit.
Oh, so the city can. Okay. I see where this is going.
Yeah, and for a while things kind of settle. They kind of settle down and everything's fine. Marv is actually making a good business out of this muffler repair shop. And he actually has a really good reputation around town as being like, whoa, he is such a good welder. And oh man, I came in with truck troubles and he just boom, 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 repaired it. Everything's great. He's not rocking the boat. He's trying to fit in. He's trying to do his own thing. Cody Dochef is still trying to make his concrete batch plant work. And he actually approaches Marv about buying Marv's property from him. And Marv and Cody go through this weird back and forth because Marv is like, sure, I'll sell it to you for $250,000. And at this point, Cody's like, okay, sure, I'll buy it from you.
Oh?
Yeah. I guess at this point he had raised enough money and he was well off enough that he's like, okay, fine. Look, I'll buy it from you.
That's un-Cody-like from what what we've been talking about earlier. But all right, fair point.
But then before he sells it, Marv has his property reappraised. And he's like, you know what, Cody? Nah, just kidding. Add another $125K to that number. And even though Cody and his family raised the money to buy it, Marv again is like, you know what, Cody? Nah, I want $450,000 from you. And Cody had no choice and had to call it off.
Okay, well
And I think this is mostly because, Marv, and there are a lot of people in town that are actually, a little concerned about the batch plant. It's a concrete batch plant that Cody wants to build. And Marv and a bunch of people are not super convinced that would be good for the town. Marv goes to town hall meetings and he's a great orator. And he's really convincing about how the batch plant would really hurt the town because there's so much excess dust and there's so many businesses and homes that would be downwind from it that it's like Shai just said, you'd be breathing in cement dust all the time. Also, what's that going to do to the water supply? What sort of protections are being put into place for the city that's going to be downwind of this just big, noisy, awful batch plant?
I mean, I tried to take a shortcut through this exact place to get to New Vegas, and let's just say the death clause there would be very bad for the city's economy.
Did you really? In New
Vegas, you could go through Quarry Junction and it's covered in death claws, and it's like, no, you're gonna go around, bro.
Ooh, death claws. Even I remember death claws are no fun.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Colorado has some pretty hefty winds at times too. Like, I feel like this will really hit you.
Oh, sure. And I would imagine if it's like raining or snowing, I would imagine it would all mix together and just be awful. You just like make almost like a cement slurry if it was raining too much and the dust is everywhere. But Marv has a lot of the town convinced too. A lot of the town is just like, he's right. Like the man is bringing up some good points. But despite all of that, they still approve the building of the batch plant because they claim, look, Marv, you're bringing up some good points. And listen, we're going to make sure that Cody has tons of stipulations and he puts tons of safety measures in place so that, maybe he'll build the batch plant. But look, all of your concerns will be met. And of course, at this point, Marv is just like, "Oh, you guys are such shitheads. I'm gonna fight this to the bitter end. Like, I am going to fight this till kingdom come." Shai has a quote. It says, though this decision was meant as a compromise, it served to be anything but. Neither Marv nor the dough chefs were happy about the decision. Marv felt his concern had been ignored, and Cody Dough Chef felt like an outsider had meddled with his business ventures and cost him time and money. Yep.
So they both ended up leaving pissed, basically, even though the dough chefs technically got their way.
Yeah, they got their way. And... yeah, they definitely both come out of this feeling a little sour at each other. And the other problem now is Cody starts buying up all of the land around Marv's property because he still wants his batch plant to be in that area.
Oh.
And Marv had actually attempted to buy the land to the south of him. But unfortunately, at the time, that land was owned by Gus Harris, the former mayor that was funding Cody. And they had come to an agreement to buy that land. But when it came time to finalize the sale, Gus just ghosted Marv. Marv couldn't find him. He couldn't call him. He was like, hey, does anybody know where he is? I want to finalize this sale so that Cody cannot surround me with his batch plant. And he could never find him. And I believe Cody ends up getting that land to the south of him too. So he's kind of he's a little surrounded.
So it literally is a not corporate, but hostile takeover sounds maybe a bit much, but literally the former mayor and stuff, no one is going to give him any right. It's just
pretty much
Cody's going to get everything because Cody is part of the city and Marv isn't.
He's a long-time member of the city. And for Cody, I think I'll talk about this later, but I'll bring it up now anyway. For Cody to build and buy up all of this land, normally that would actually be illegal because there are very specific zoning laws about what property you can buy, what you can build on that property, et cetera, et cetera. And the city actually illegally spot zones this little area around Marv specifically so Cody can buy it and build his batch plant.
No, they gerrymandered the prejudice, racism, whatever, and now they're gerrymandering the properties.
Yep.
Oh,
so Marv is baffled at all this because he's like, what is going on? Why is the city doing this to me? And then around this time, too, the city's like, hey, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but you didn't withdraw your request to be annexed into the city water and sewage plan. And since you're annexed in and you're not hooked up to the city's water and sewage, buddy, that's a huge violation. And we're just going to have to fine you every day until you hook up. So they fine him $100 every day he's not hooked up. And as a big middle finger to the city, every month, or at least the first month, Marv writes out a check to the city. I think it's, like I said, it's $3,000 and some odd dollars. And who does he make it out to? The Cowards and Liars Department.
Okay, that's such cute, like, cute, like, it's small city, just like, I'm sending a check to the yellow bellies up in Congress, you know?
Pretty much.
That's adorable. I was expecting something way more petty. I was expecting him to pay them in coins.
Ooh, bring in all pennies, $3,000 worth of pennies and quarters. That's a good one, too. But Marv also decides, he's like, look, I got to hire an attorney at this point, and I need to file a lawsuit because I'm getting screwed. Cody's building and making this batch plan around his business, like nothing even matters. Like he's building this, and the attorney's like, dude, don't even worry about it. We got them. They don't have a leg to stand on. They illegally zoned this place. Don't worry about a thing. We've got them by the balls. So now we're in like June of 2001. And the dough chefs try to calm down this whole lawsuit thing. And they call Marv and they're like, hey, look, buddy, if you just drop the damn lawsuit, we'll give you an easement. We'll let you connect to the city's water and sewage for free. And we'll all live happily ever after. This was a phone call. Marv doesn't even respond, just hangs up on him.
Marv's had enough.
Yeah. It should also be noted that Marv claimed that the construction of all the batch plant stuff actually blocked access to his muffler shop. I haven't seen pictures of it, but there is, in that documentary I talked about, they claimed that the construction didn't actually block entrance to his property. But again, that documentary was done by a guy named Patrick Bauer, and he was a journalist in Granby, and he is not a reliable source of information. So a part of me is just like, he's probably lying. I'm going to side with Marv on this one and say that the construction did block the territory. But I don't know. I haven't seen the pictures of it. I don't know which one of them is actually right, but Patrick Bauer just kind of seems like a bit of an unreliable narrator.
I mean, he was selling property all around his area. You would assume that even if it didn't block it, it certainly made it more difficult.
Oh, for sure. And to make matters even worse, the lawsuit that was supposed to be a slam dunk, it was dismissed. They dismissed his lawsuit, and that's Patrick Bauer's property was part of the events of later.
The rampage or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so even he said, "We'll drop the lawsuit. We'll be chill." He hung up on them, and the lawsuit still didn't go through.
Yep, the lawsuit still gets dismissed, and Marv is so pissed and upset with his attorney because with how much his attorney was like reassuring him, and for it to get dismissed, Marv was like, you were bought out, weren't you? You were bought out by these goddamn city officials that hate me, and oh, you piece of garbage. And so there was nothing Marv could do to stop Cody Dough Chef from building this big concrete batch plant around his muffler shop. And Marv also claims...
Do we have any?
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, do we have any confirmation that the lawyer was bought out, or does the lawyer just suck?
We have no... I don't think we have any official confirmation.
Okay, so Marv is just... I mean, I'm not going to call him malding, but like he's like the lawyer. He's pretty mad.
Yeah, he's mad because the attorney was like, dude, we got this in the bag, and then it gets dismissed. And Marv also claims that his attorney absolutely refused to appeal the verdict. Like, he specifically says that, like, Marv was like, dude, our lawsuit is so good that even if we somehow lose, we should appeal to a higher court because it's good, it's solid. Attorney wouldn't do it. Attorney refused to appeal it.
Maybe the attorney is a bit of a shithead then. All right.
Yeah, yep. And so Marv is kind of out of options here. There's nothing left for him to do but just kind of watch as the city kind of screws him over and ruins his muffler business. And at some point, Marv is in his Grand Lake property, and he's kind of just hanging out in his hot tub, and he's sort of thinking about all this, and he just starts to openly weep, and he is just like, he is mentally cracking, and he essentially decides that, like, you know what, I cannot live with this. This is just, I need to do something. Something needs to happen, and I think it's pretty much at this point where his mental state cracks so much, he essentially turns to religious, vengeful wrath and furious anger. Because he starts to attribute a lot of his actions to being sort of a calling from God, and that God is giving him the strength to do it. God knows Marv well, and he knows that Marv Heemeyer will do the task that he needs to do. He specifically says that God wanted the people of Granby to learn a lesson, and God knew well that Marv Heemeyer would teach them for everything they'd taken from him.
So he cracked.
He cracked hard.
Oh, no.
Yep. So Marv goes to California, and he buys this big tank of a bulldozer. It's specifically called a Komatsu D355. And he hauls it back to him, to Granby, and he parks it outside of his property. And I think specifically he has the blade facing the batch plant, or it might be Gus Harris's property. Is sort of like a, look what I bought, look at this big dozer. And Marv at this point is basically looking for any sign that he shouldn't go through with this plan that's murking around in his head, that he should just walk away and live out his life in peace. Marv even holds an auction on his property. Everything is up for sale. The property is up for sale for like $400,000. Even the Komatsu dozer that he bought, it's up for sale. Everything is for sale. And
wait, the dozer was for sale.
Yeah, the dozer was he put a for sale sign on it. You want it, take it from me.
Was this perhaps his like last attempt to be like, if you want to do right by me, I'm giving you one shot?
Kind of.
Or
this is sort of his last, like, look, I have a plan in mind, and if God doesn't want me to do it, God will make someone stop me, right? And he puts everything up for auction, and he's like, if everything sells, and if everybody treats me fairly, I won't do it. I'll walk away, I'll be happy, everything will be great. And at this property auction, everything sells except for two things. The property doesn't sell, and the bulldozer doesn't sell.
So the two things he arguably wanted to sell.
Yep. And Marv takes this as a sign from God that he is not supposed to stop. The bulldozer.
Holy, that for sale sign.
Yeah.
If you... Hold on. If you had worked with me at any time from 1992 to 2002... God stopped the plant through his messenger in 1992. Something started in 2002. You fucked yourselves because of your malice. If we all don't win, we all lose.
Yep.
He went, okay.
That is the for sale sign. That has all of the grievances that he felt were done to him. And I believe that's the for sale sign he put on the dozer, like before all this happened.
Real KILLDOZER Martin Luther, huh?
Yeah, something like that. But yeah, he took this as a sign, like the dozer's still here, the property is still here, and the property has ample space to modify my bulldozer, so God must want me to teach these people a lesson. Otherwise, why would the dozer still be here? Like, he goes so far, like he's even like, he notices that the bulldozer just barely fits into the warehouse by like 2 inches. And he's like, in his mind, he's like, see? God wants me to do it. Why else would the dozer fit in the warehouse? It fits by 1 inch. God wants me to do it. And he's properly broken at this point. And Marv even manages to sell the property later in like, I think it's 2003, to a Granby trash company for like $400,000. Like, he makes a huge profit off this land. But at this point, even though he made so much money, again, you can tell Marv's mental state is just, he's gone. Like, he is just completely gone. He is convinced that God wants him to teach Granby a lesson. He needs to do what needs to be done. And so while he, that is true. So I don't know what specifically happened with his girlfriend, because so his girlfriend of a long time does leave him. And I'm not sure what the cause was, because on the documentary they said it was because they kept getting into arguments about her smoking habits. But then I saw some other documentaries that were like, no, he literally caught her cheating. And then yeah, his dad dies, and he goes up to the funeral and everything, and he hangs out there, he's taking pictures, and he takes like this one last really sort of like solemn picture. I think it's by his family's property or something, and it's just it's this solemn picture where Marv is looking into the camera. I think he has maybe a little bit of a smile on his face, but like you can tell, like he's gone. Like, the dude is just mentally, he's just gone. So everything is piling up now. All this, his dad dies, something happens with his girlfriend, whether it's the constant arguments about smoking, whether she cheated on him, she leaves too. That picture, like, you can tell,
wow,
he's just,
he is, yeah.
He's gone. Like, he's kind of smiling, but he is gone.
I mean, he is at his dad's funeral, so I feel like anyone would look like that. But
that's true.
Adding context, it's also, I think, important to note that we've been chatting for 45 minutes. But this whole, like, this is like 10 years of misery.
Yeah,
this all went over the course of 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Over, yeah, it's like 10, 12 years or something total, where he feels like every step of the way over a decade, the city is trying to screw him because he's an outsider, because he didn't know that Cody Doshev wanted this spot, and he is just, yeah, it's crazy. So yeah, like I said, he does eventually sell the property to the Granby Trash Company for $400,000, but again, he's just kind of out of it at this point, and he leases one of the buildings for himself from the trash company, and he like properly walls the place off, and he makes sure nobody can see like what he's doing in there. He changes the locks. He's installed security cameras all over the building so that he can kind of keep watch on the trash company, where they were, what they were doing, when could I be loud, when do I have to keep it quiet, how do I do this without raising any suspicions. He even makes a makeshift living area inside this building where he moved the bulldozer so he can just modify it 24/7. And he starts making these crazy armor adjustments for the bulldozer. Like, he's taking these thick steel plates and he's kind of welding them next to each other. It almost makes like a box. And he fills this steel-plated box with concrete. And then he lifts them up onto the side of the dozer, and he uses that as sort of like this reinforced steel concrete armor. And he also mentions that at one point, some people actually did come in and they saw the dozer tarped and they saw like this big lift that he had brought in. And he was like, oh yeah, I told them this really BS story about how what I was doing was I was helping a professor's experiment to try to figure out this new cooling system for an engine. And they bought it. They didn't look under the tarp. They didn't question him. They were just like, yeah, Marv, that sounds right. Cool. And again, Marv uses that as further justification of like, if God wanted me to be caught, someone would have figured it out. Someone would have stopped me. They wouldn't have believed my BS story. They would have looked under the tarp. They would have seen the lift and they would have known that I was up to something bad. And Marv even takes that winter off. And he goes snowmobiling. He says he needs to rest and recharge. He states that God gave me the winter off because he knew I wouldn't be finished by year's end, and that God wants me to take time off and relax. But remember, Marv, you gotta come back and you gotta make sure you do this thing because God gave you the winter off because he knows you're 52 years old and he wants you to do this at a pace that you can do it. So God gave me the winter off so I could relax, snowmobile, and come back. And yeah, that is Marv's cabin.
That honestly sounds like hope, if I'm being honest. It sounds to me like he was trying to think of any possible reason not to do what he was gonna do. Like, take the time off, see a sign, and anything that tells me that maybe I shouldn't go about going on a rampage and killing myself. But
yeah, there is definitely a part of him that's just like, maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I'll get a sign. Maybe someone will stop me. Maybe I don't have to go through with this. Definitely. But yeah, like I said, Marv is like completely broken at this point. Like we said, his girlfriend is gone, dad's dead. Not to sound crass about that, but he takes the winter off. Nobody notices anything. Nobody finds anything. So when Marv gets back from his winter break, he just gets right back to work on the dozer. And like, you got to understand how crazy this thing gets. Like, it has the crazy armor and everything, right? Like the crazy steel concrete armor. But because of how thick this armor is, he literally has to install cameras on the front, the side, and the back. Because, like, Shai posted a picture of what this thing looks like. You can't see out of it. There's no window to see out of this thing. So he is installing cameras on the front, side, and rear of the dozer. And then he actually covers those cameras with like bulletproof glass. But he also installs these he thinks of everything. He installs these little air compressors under like the glass or around the glass, because if the cameras get like dust or debris on them, since he can't get out there, he pushes a little lever and compressed air fires off, cleans off the camera, and he can see again.
Literally every expense spared.
He's also fitted the inside of the cabin with like literal air conditioning so that he doesn't just get heat exhaustion or something. He has enough food and water in there to last, I think someone said like a week. And there's a small hole in the back of the cabin because he had a .50 caliber rifle sticking out the back.
Yeah, that's right. He had like a gun.
Yeah, and inside the cabin, he also has several handguns with him too. And it's at this point that he makes that long list on that for sale sign that Shai showed, with all of the sort of wrongdoings that the town had done for him. And of course, at the top of the list, Cody Douchef. Although I think at this point he spells his name out as Cody Douche Chef. Because he's quirky like that. So he's Cody Douchef. And since Marv hadn't been caught modifying this Komatsu bulldozer, and understand, again, like you said, we've been talking about this for, a few minutes. He had been modifying this bulldozer for a year and a half. And he was like, I've been doing this for a year and a half. Nobody caught me. There's no sign. I was meant to do this. So
it's almost like he's wanting to get caught. He's like, just do it. Just find it. Just get
somebody find me. There's definitely a part of him that's still like, I don't think I should do this. Somebody stop me, but nobody does. So on June 4th, 2004, Marv would use this specialty lift to raise the final piece of steel concrete armor to seal himself into the bulldozer. And even inside the bulldozer, he's welding this thing on. There is no way out. He has welded himself shut into this bulldozer. And since the bulldozer had barely fit into the building before, now with all the added armor, it was much too big to get out. So what does he do? Just rams that shit right down, breaks the wall down, and he starts in on his rampage.
It's literally like a movie. The dude just like blows through the wall.
It is it's such like a movie. And while the bulldozer is moving kind of slow, there is literally no stopping it. And naturally, the first thing Marv goes for is that concrete batch plant. And he just rams into this plant and he starts just methodically tearing it down. Wall after wall, he just tears this thing down. Cody Doshev and the workers there are trying to stop it, but they can't do anything. Like, they take this big piece of, like, steel rebar and they just jam it into the treads, hoping that, like, you know, the treads will snap and stop it. But that rebar just, boom, snaps like a toothpick, doesn't do anything. And Cody starts thinking, like, oh, you can't see out the dozer. This thing's got to be remote controlled because you can't see the cabin, you can't see the driver. So he starts shooting at this thing. They start shooting, like, their rifles and their guns at it. Bullets aren't even making a dent. They're just ping, ping, ping. Cody even tries to take his own, like, front loader bulldozer and ram it from the side and, like, take it down and lift it up. But Cody's dozer doesn't even make it budge. Like, I think Cody slams into it and he keeps trying to slam into it. And at some point he just gets whiplash and he knocks himself out.
That's so fucking funny, dude. Does he? Wait, Cody is like, all right, I'm gonna pull up. Damn, Killdozer's got hands. Does he actually knock himself out?
Shy, doesn't he knock himself out?
Does he like try to ram the Killdozer and then just like fucking throws his neck out and just slumps over?
I think the whiplash makes him like crash into like the front window or something, and he just knocks himself out.
That's so funny. That is straight out of a goddamn comedy.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's totally what happens. I couldn't remember because they do exchange fire. Like I believe that some shots are fired from the dozer, and I couldn't remember if Cody got hit or not, and that's what did it. But I was pretty sure it was like, yep, boom, he whiplashes, knocks himself out.
That's hilarious. All right.
And at this point, the Colorado police force had been rallied onto the scene, but like, what are they supposed to do? Right?
The local PD doesn't really have the equipment for this one.
Yeah, they really don't. And it wasn't taking damage from anything. It was just bowling over everything. Cop cars that got in the way, boom, just absolutely knocked over. And this dozer was just making a path of destruction in Granby. And I was just getting to that, Shy. At some point, one of the officers manages to get on top of the dozer. I don't remember if he climbed or if he was on like a shorter building and he just jumped on. And so he's on top of it. He's like, okay, I'm going to get into this thing, because he expected there to be a hatch or an entry point or something. And he's like, there's nothing. This is just, what the hell? There's no hatch to get in because, you know, Marv had just welded himself shut in there. He wasn't planning on getting out. There's no hatch to get in. The only thing he could see was like one of the air conditioning vent things. That's all he could see, and he couldn't get into that either. And at some point, they even tried dropping I think it's a flashbang grenade into an exhaust pipe to be like, okay, this'll get him out. I don't even think the dozer like stumbled at all. The thing goes off and like it's just like nothing happened. So Marv would take this unstoppable dozer through town, and he is mowing down properties. Like Shai said, Patrick Brower's house was taken down. I think Sky High News takes a bunch of damage. And
it's all city and people who
it's
quote,
all
unquote,
people that
wronged
wronged him.
right?
Absolutely.
Does he screw up Cody's house as well, or just the plant?
I don't remember if he goes for Cody's house, but he goes for there's this family that was like sort of the head of city council in Granby. They're called the Thompsons, and they're like this legacy family that had been living in Granby for like ever. And that's kind of how they got on city council, is they've just been there forever and ever and ever. And they were a big part of just like jerking Marv around because they're like the head of city council. So Marv made sure to go to their residence and bulldoze that thing into the ground. So the Thompsons' house got bulldozed. I don't think Cody's house got bulldozed, though.
He cared more about the plant anyway.
Yeah, definitely. But he also takes the dozer to Town Hall, which at the time was actually hosting like a children's reading event or something in the library that was connected to it. But again, the dozer's moving so slow, they had plenty of time to evacuate before Marv takes the dozer and just lays waste to most of Town Hall. At one point, things did get a little serious because Marv decided to go for the propane storage yard. He didn't drive the dozer through the propane storage yard, thank God, but he was like trying to angle himself so he could get a shot off with his .50 caliber, and he was going to shoot the propane tanks, the transformers, and all that stuff, which could have been huge, and they had to evacuate everybody within, I don't remember what the radius was, but they had to evacuate a lot of people, because if he hits one of those and they go off, it's trouble.
Yeah, I imagine... Oh, wait, no, a 50 cal. I remember the old Mythbusters, and it's like, yeah, you can't really shoot propane tanks very well, but then I forgot he had a 50 caliber rifle. I'm like, he'll probably be fine. Yeah,
but he couldn't quite angle the dozer to get the shot he wanted, so he kind of just gave up and kept moving. At this point, the governor, or it may have been the mayor, they were like, look, we need, like, the National Guard. At one point, they were like, hey, could you spare, like, an Apache helicopter or some anti-tank weaponry? Because this tank, we can't stop it. And supposedly, they were seriously, like, calling in, like, anti-tank weapons. And they were seriously considering it. But then they were like, well... the collateral damage would probably be a little too crazy, so maybe we shouldn't use Apache helicopters with anti-tank missiles or something. But yeah, for the longest time, the only thing the police could do was they could just jog besides the dozer and just evacuate anybody that was on this sort of hit list that Marv had left. So Marv just goes on this slow, steady rampage. And the final spot that Marv would hit, it's the shop called, it's the Gamble Shop, and it was owned by one of the town hall officials that approved the zoning and construction of Cody Dosheff's batch plant. And by this point, with all of the damage that Marv had done, his radiator was leaking all over the place, smoke was starting to plume up from the dozer. It's kind of on its last legs, but he's still like, you know what? I'm getting this Gamble store. And there's plenty of footage of his rampage. He goes down like the side of the Gamble store, taking out the walls and everything. And the only thing that he didn't account for was the fact that the Gamble store had a basement in it that he didn't know about. And as he's going along the walls, his treads get stuck in the basement. And so he is just completely immobilized. He can't move or anything. The treads are stuck in, like, the basement. And so his rampage finally comes to an end. The police are completely surrounding the dozer, trying to figure out how to get in, and one officer just hears one final gunshot from inside the cabin as Marv Heemeyer ends his own life.
I thought that it was a technical problem, or the police like threw a bomb on the tread or something. So there was a basement, so he just basically got lurched forward too far, and
he got caught in the basement, and it just completely immobilized him. Yeah, they tried the grenade, didn't work.
Well, I thought you've seen Saving Private Ryan, right? You know, put the
I actually haven't.
You haven't? Oh, wow.
I've been meaning to watch it for like the last 10 years, dude, and I've just never gotten around to it.
Oh, holy. There's a part where like they throw some sticky bombs on like the tank treads and it blows the treads off. And I thought they did. I mean, I know that's
good try.
There isn't like police, well, maybe there is police sanctioned sticky bombs, but, like I assume they were able to disable it that way somehow. I didn't realize he got the Halo Warthog trapped in like a funny collision treatment.
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
It was a bad collision detection, unfortunately. And even after the dozer had been stopped, the authorities were still having a hard time getting into this thing. Like, they put controlled explosives on the side of the tank to like try and blow it open, and it just... And one of the officials was like, yeah, my house was a little ways away. The windows shook and the foundation kind of shook a little bit. And when you looked at the tank afterwards, there was just a little stain on the side. It didn't do shit to the bulldozer. And in the documentary, they were like, yeah, well, if Marv wasn't dead in there after that controlled blast and how forceful it was, he sure was then. To finally get in, they had to bring in like an actual like cutting torch, and they had to like just bring in this heat cutting torch to just I think what they had to do was that air conditioning vent, they had to cut around that air conditioning vent so that they could finally get in there and get Marv out and see all of the stuff that he had in there. And once they got in, they were just like, look, we are going to completely dismantle, scrap, and get rid of all of this because we don't want anyone coming in here trying to get souvenirs or anything like that, or try to perch up Marv as a martyr or anything, which at that point, who cares? Like, news choppers are everywhere. Everybody has seen what he's done. Like, he has left plenty of evidence about why he did it. He had a hit list, and, I don't know why they cared, but they were just like, yeah, screw it. We're going to make sure nobody can take any souvenirs. And actually, in that Tread documentary, they were talking to some people from the Thompson family, and they were like, man, I don't agree with them dismantling it. I think they should have kept it and made like a museum memorial out of it, because that way our town would get a bunch more money from tourism.
Okay, we got the wrong accent here. This is Colorado.
That's true. But they're kind of like good old boys. Like if you see them, that's
Well,
anyway.
I mean, it is. I mean, goddamn. I'm plenty a sellout myself, but I like to consider myself a somewhat moral sellout.
Yeah, right.
The Thompsons, like they were arguably half the reason this entire thing happened. And they're like, yeah, I should have kept it. We would have gotten a hell of a lot of extra money from people checking it out. Like, it's just no shame.
Yep. Oh, I was.
Or maybe they just wanted it to pay for the damages.
The damages, yeah. Because all told, with the near $7 million of damages caused by Marv, all told, and Shai just put a list of the total count. So he wrecked Town Hall, the Sky High newspaper offices, the Gamble's General Store, Maple Street Builders, Mountain Parks Electric Company, Liberty Savings Bank. I think the copycat graphics was kind of an accident as he was going for the Gamble store, but still, got it. The wall of his former business, the home of the former mayor, the hardware store owned by another man, Heemeyer named in the lawsuit, natural gas service to the town hall, and the concrete plant, damaged truck, and destroyed part of the utility service center. And with all of that damage, all that, Not a single casualty. Marv did not kill a single person that day in the dozer.
Factually incorrect.
Oh, well, I guess he
Marv
did kill
killed
himself.
one
That's,
person.
Well,
in
one
the
casualty. One casualty. That's true. He didn't hurt anybody else.
One could call Marv a hero of this town. He did kill Marv.
Well, I guess he did. Now, you might be wondering.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, yeah, you're right. No casualties, just kind of a vengeful rampage for the property.
And you might be wondering, if Marv shot himself in the end, how do we know what his mental state was leading up to that? How do we know that he felt like God planned this mission for him? About 2 weeks before all of this happened, when he had mostly finished building the dozer, he had recorded, I think, 3 tapes back and front, explaining why he felt that he had to do this and his justification for it. And those audio tapes, the audio from those tapes is readily available online. You can find them all over YouTube. And you can really just hear how mentally fatigued and just how his mental state has been dragged through the mud in all of this, and how he just suddenly is like this man on a holy crusade from God. And he would send those tapes to his brother in South Dakota, who would then promptly turn the tapes over to the FBI. And, of course, they found all of his hit lists, they found the for sale sign, they found a written list of all the people he felt had wronged him and all that. And, yeah, that is the story of Marv Heemeyer and the KILLDOZER.
I was going to say, I feel like the for sale sign already has the chicken scratch of someone who's not fully all there.
Yeah, but the tapes are a little haunting, though. If you listen to him, he really is he really thinks he's like a holy crusader of God. It's kind of wild to listen to him be like, God knew Marv Heemeyer well, and God knew that I would do these things because God knows Marv Heemeyer so well, and he gave me these hands and this skill to do what I must do. And it's like, boy, he's gone. That reasonable, sensible man from the beginning, he is gone. Which goes back to the quote, he was always willing to be reasonable until he had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things.
It's really a fascinating story because, I don't necessarily, respect Marv. I don't necessarily entrust him or consider him to be necessarily a good guy for everything and all that kind of stuff.
It's a gray area for sure.
Well, just more than anything, it's an engrossing tale. I can, as almost like an anti-hero kind of character. It's nice to see people who are assholes get their comeuppance, that kind of whole thing. But it's certainly one of those types of tales that I really appreciate learning about it and being it's a tragedy almost.
Oh, for sure. This is a tragedy all the way around, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't consider him, as Shai says here, you can debate all the time if he was a hero, villain, or madman. Mm-hmm. But if anything, it really is the famous quote. Was the nothing more terrifying or something than a man with nothing to lose?
Oh, for sure. Man with nothing to lose is, yeah. I don't remember how that quote goes either, but yeah, absolutely. When, what is it? A cornered animal is the most dangerous kind of animal.
Yeah, all of those various phrases.
And it should be noted, Marv never called it the KILLDOZER. He always referred to it as just the dozer.
Yeah, it's kind of an internet name, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an internet name, yeah. And there was some book called KILLDOZER that some people think it was named after. But yeah, it's weird that it got called the KILLDOZER because he didn't go on a killing rampage with it.
No, he killed buildings, I suppose.
Yeah, he killed buildings, yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually really fascinating. I don't necessarily consider. Obviously, I don't condone the actions of Marv and all that usual kind of stuff.
Definitely
but I find the slow degradation to be Very, very fascinating, and also probably one of those things that would make a very good movie if they pulled it off properly. Though I don't know, it's
that's a tough one. Yeah,
you know what I would imagine? It would be like this: if they did like a movie for it, it would need to be like 90% just the conflict in the courts and him and Cody, and then the last five.
Yep.
I almost feel like it would be better if you don't show it off. Like the climax is him welding himself into the thing, and the movie just kind of ends.
Oh, and it just cuts to credits. That would
because you
ending.
What happened, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You could have the final climax of the movie be like him selling everything and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's very much one of those things where it's like, fuck, man, Marv really. He snapped, like, and I don't even know if I blame him. 10 years.
10 years of just getting jerked around, and like nobody was willing to play fair with him. Nobody was willing to be like even, because he was always willing to play by the rules and do everything by the book. And the city was just like, nah, you know what? We're gonna support our boy.
Yeah, from what we can tell, I mean, I'm not quite sure how much unreliable narrator is in this situation, but
yeah,
obviously he's a bit of a what is it? They certainly did not give him a fair shot, and then it's unfortunate because this is all the documented history.
I was about to say that too, Shai. Like both sides are kind of unreliable narrators, right? Because when Marv Heemeyer says his part in those tapes, he's already out of it. Like, he's already kind of, like, lost it, and he's telling it from his obviously biased perspective, and then you've got the town's perspective, which is also obviously biased because, they were up to some shady shit. They were illegally spot zoning, so of course they're going to try and cover their ass. So, like, who do you even trust, right?
Honestly, the whole, what is it? His like chicken scratched for sale sign kind of adds a lot to that, because he does specifically call out the last 10 years, 92 to 02.
Yep.
So like it's not in the idea that it's just like he was always a little bit cuckoo. Like it genuinely seems like he was specifically calling out this section of time.
Oh yeah, definitely that 10 years where he felt like he was specifically screwed over by the town. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. I gotta be honest, and I think the reason why partially we're missing out on a little bit of context is just the fact that I think his father and girlfriend probably played a much larger deal than we're giving it credit for, but because there's not a lot of information on that, I think it's like hard to add that to the story, because your father dying is come on, that's like enormous.
Those were probably like the final straw that broke the camel's back, where it's just like, all right, it's go time now. I got literally nothing to lose. Family's pretty much gone except for my brother. My romantic relationship just blew up. Like, fuck it, we ball.
Unreasonable people have done way worse on a relationship only.
That's true.
Unreasonable people have killed others because of the relationship part
just
alone.
Because the relationship, yeah.
So
let
you give
alone having 10 years of grief on top of it.
And you had 10 more years plus the father dying. I can see how I can believe that he was genuinely a reasonable individual that snapped. So hell.
Yep.
Well, goddamn.
That is one of the reasons, final episode, right?
I think it's a good reason. You know what? This is a fantastic ending episode. One, because it's a little funny, in like a fucked up way, but like the concept's pretty funny. Two, it's a very popular story that's got a lot of good pull to it.
Sure.
And then three, I really like the fact that, like with almost every single goddamn Detective Ridiculous episode, government ineptitude is half the fault.
Well, you're right.
Some damn city or government being shit at their job was like half the goddamn episodes that we did.
Yeah,
and so
either,
it's perfect.
Either that, or it was from like the 1500s, and the police were inept at doing their job, and it took them like 20 hours to get to the crime scene, and everything was ruined. It's either that or the government screwed up.
Good stuff.
You want to take us home on the final episode?
Hey, everyone, we really appreciate the last 2 years of Detective Ridiculous. An absolutely hilarious situation that has worked out fantastically for us all. We really hope you enjoyed your time. Really hope you enjoyed these episodes. Look back on them very fondly.
They're not going anywhere.
No, of course not. Thank you so much for supporting us as DK moves to his new narration role of Fantasy Warhammer. Thank you so much for supporting
that.
Hey, I'm actually genuinely curious now ever since the Skaven, so...
Okay, cool.
But that's that. Please support us on our podcast at patreon.com/adeptusridiculous. The YouTube pleasantries are always appreciated. And we'll see you next time. Maybe next April. Bye-bye.